Another DSA-aligned radical has shot to the forefront of the Senate primary, and that would be in the state of Michigan. Abdul El-Sayed, who is a radical socialist and an Islamist, is now poised to contend for the Michigan Senate seat. He defeated Haley Stevens in a fairly close race, and now the Democratic Party is in damage control because El-Sayed is essentially taking the backing of communist Twitch streamer Hassan Piker. Now, El-Sayed is being asked to reject the calls of Hassan Piker and disavow any attempts to get him to mend fences with the moderate Democrats. Let's watch.
Hassan Piker video that's out there, and I don't know if you've seen it. I ran into him yesterday, a very popular streamer. He supports you. You've campaigned together. He's a controversial guy. On a stream last night, he addressed this. It's all over Fox News. I want to play just a little bit of it for you and our audience.
Everyone being like, Abdullah has a ton of work to do mending bridges. Here's the take nuke for you, okay? You are all unbelievably Islamophobic pieces of okay? You literally called the dude a terrorist for months on end and like called him a sexist, misogynist, terrorist, bad candidate, doesn't fake doctor when he has like 2 degrees. And now you're going to sit there and be like, well, you know, you really got to come to me now. Like, what are you talking about? Do you want to win or not? Lock the in.
His words have been used against you before. They're being used against you again. He's here talking about mending bridges and basically giving you advice. I'm just paraphrasing, not necessarily to do that. What do you make of that advice? Is that helpful advice for you?
Look, he's a streamer. I'm focused on trying to win a race for Senate in Michigan. And I've been up and down my state, spent the last 15 months talking to Michiganders. And I understand that this is a very serious election and that we got to come together. You know, obviously he's got his perspective on it and he's welcome to his perspective. It's not mine. My perspective on it is that you have to ask for every vote. I've been in this work for 15 months and then I ran for office 8 years ago.
So El-Sayed, of course, he is also someone who is being a canary in a coal mine for the communists in this country. He is being sent out to test how far the American people will go to participate in this two-party system, because he's going to be running against Mike Rogers, who is a neocon and a warmonger, and someone who is very much an establishment Republican. And so this is kind of a perfect test in Michigan about how far Americans will go to support a DSA-aligned extremist like El-Sayed.
I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay. Replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Defund the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large part.
Yeah, again, that as part of a long-term program, yeah.
Okay, so no prisons. Government or public ownership of most large corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so now we're seeing the fruits of all of this with El-Sayed and Hassan Piker and Zohran Mamdani being thrust to the forefront of the Democratic Party. And it looks like it is being hollowed out before our very eyes. The husk of the Democratic Party and what it used to stand for, which is trying to establish the cause of the workers and to support their interests, that has gone by the wayside. And now we're seeing a bunch of extremists thrust to the forefront, and they are engaging in a dirty break with the Democratic Party right now. And El-Sayed is the poster child for this DSA-aligned radical fusion of socialism and Islamism. Mamdani is potentially even slicker than El-Sayed, but it's quite clear that they are infiltrating the system. That if you look at the DSA platform, they are not looking to reform the United States of America. They are looking to turn it upside down. We're talking about abolishing the Senate, abolishing the police, abolishing any types of constraints on their socialist rule. and that includes freedom of speech. They are talking about sort of open borders, social welfare state, which will be the ruin of the United States. But the important thing here to note is that this platform is not classic socialism. It is designed to destroy a country from within. If you look at the DSA platform, that is what it does in practice. It's not about ideals. It's not about a belief system. It's about destroying the United States of America as it was founded. And I think the more you analyze that, the more it should become perfectly clear. So El Said, he is an extremely dangerous character. And John Fetterman, well, he had something very interesting to say. He called him out to keep campaigning with Hassan Piker. He dared him to do that.
I really don't know. But they're not ashamed to say these kinds of things. Abolish all of those things that they're not viable. And now A. Syed, he just won. And I just want to issue a dare. Continue to campaign with Hassan Piker right now. You're in a general election now. I dare you. Keep campaigning with someone like Hassan Piker. If I was a Republican, I would just dump $20 million for ads. He pals around with Piker, the guy that, on the 25th anniversary of 9/11, my best friend says America deserved 9/11, and you're going to try to win a general election. So that's, how can he reconcile the outlandish thing that he said, and his record, and I'd also remind people that the vast majority, the majority of Michigan Dems picked someone other that wasn't El Sayed, he barely won by 14,000 votes. And if McMorrow wasn't in that race, without a doubt, he would have lost that. So he's not had a big night. He did win. But overall, remind people, the majority of Michigan Democrats picked someone other than he is.
And it's good to see Fetterman as the voice of reason on a lot of issues impacting edit. And it's good to see John Fetterman as a voice of reason impacting a lot of Democratic Party political issues. So weigh in with your thoughts about this story. We always appreciate hearing from you at the Becker Brief.